we've seen is that apparently the disease of zombie economists has affected every country. And what this chart shows is that all over the world, the amount of debt is going up by compounded annual growth rate of 11%. And Combat says, we're fixing for correction of biblical proportions. Well, that's not necessary if we take this seriously. But if we continue to run around acting like we can borrow our way out of debt, then we know how that story is going to end. And that's what we're facing. We got options. Number one option is, in my opinion, growing our economy a lot faster. And what we in the private sector have to do, we who are concerned about the economy have to do, is we have to support efforts that make it possible to grow our economy faster. We can self-correct a lot of these problems at 6%, and if we ever get up to something as high as 8 or 9%, it's not a problem. Tax revenues that will flow naturally from that will give us an opportunity to pay down our debt in a natural way. And the job creation, and just look at North Dakota, the job creation that would happen if we were able to get our economy going again would be significant. I don't know how to do that by borrowing money. I'm old-fashioned that way. Other thing we do is we have some assets that we can sell one time to bring down our debt, which is what you do when you have financial problems. You just have to have people in Washington who understand that the money should be used to pay the debt down and not for something else. And those assets are all the land the federal government owns in the West. The federal government owns 45% of California. That's not just Yosemite and Sequoia. That's a whole lot of other stuff. The federal government owns 57% of Utah, 84% of Nevada, 69% of Alaska. That's a one-time deal. And unless we have people in Washington who would guarantee that the money went to paying down the debt, of course we don't want to touch that asset. Because once it's sold, we can't get it back. Let's go quickly and look about our competition. And we go through this really fast. You want to see the whole slide deck? Come back at 6 when we talk to the community. We know about BRIC. What was significant about Brazil, Russia, and India, and China is that in the case of Brazil in 1991, they had 6,100% inflation. In the case of Russia in 98, their economy collapsed and the ruble lost half of its value. India in 91 had lost, was 2 weeks away from bankruptcy, and China had gone through a decade of anarchy back in 1976. The Chinese were twice as poor as Indians. Their GDP per capita was half of India. Fast forward to American Central Intelligence Agency analysis. Today, Italians are acting up as usual. Today, China's economy is 80% the size of ours. In 1976, China was half as poor, twice as poor as India. If you look at the growth rates, what you see is China, India, and Brazil are growing significantly faster than we are. In fact, if you look at Brazil, that's the most interesting story. According to the CIA, their economy is $1 billion smaller than the UK and growing much faster. This is that second strategic inflection point of significance. We have countries that are growing faster than anything we've ever seen. Why is that significant? If you look at the bottom, what you see is that as of the end of last year, the GDP of the BRIC countries was $18.5 trillion. If you go back to the previous slide, you see the GDP of America is $14.6 trillion. So they're now combined larger than we are. Why is that significant? As they grow at these significant rates, 7%, 10%, a number of things are happening. One of the things that's happening is their demand for electricity, their demand for hard goods is going up significantly, and they have the cash to pay for it. Let me give you an example. Both McKinsey and Goldman have been looking at the growth that's going on in China, India, Brazil, and Russia. And they're predicting that in this decade, 48 million Chinese and 30 million Indians, Russians, and Brazilians will join the middle class every single year. Every single year. Now, from my perspective as a businessman, I'll be saying this as a businessman, from my perspective, this is the greatest time to have a business in America. When's the last time we've seen almost 70 million new members of the middle class popping up for the first time every year? They're going to want everything that we take for granted. And somebody's going to sell it to them. And the question is it us or somebody else? I'll give you an example. In India and China today, 1 million people sign up for cell phone service for the very first time every day of the week. 1 million. In 1997, there were 15.3 million cell phone subscribers in India and China. Today, there are 1.6 billion, which means there's still 900 million Indians and Chinese who don't have cell phones. Now, a lot of American companies have made a lot of money going there. Some of our politicians have accused them of exporting jobs, but if you're a capitalist, where do you go? You go to where market is. And if we could have 1 million people sign up for cell phone service in Holland, Michigan every day, everybody would be here. It's a great opportunity for us. It represents a fundamental change. I'm going to go fast through this. Well, I'll have to show you this. To give you a sense of how quick things are changing, this is the Financial Times analysis of the market cap of the largest banks in the world, 20 largest banks. It starts with 2006. American and European banks are at the top. 2007, 3 Chinese banks pop on the list. 2008, 1, 3, 5, 18 and 19 are Chinese. And 2009, when market caps of banks collapse, the wealthiest banks by market cap in the world are Chinese. And if you look at the bottom, you see 2 Brazilian banks. So 7 of the 20 banks are now Chinese and Brazilian, just as Goldman predicted, based on market cap, based on what the market says they would. Now, what does this mean? It means that according to the Conference Board, which represents us, the private sector, we could face a world where the largest economy of the world is the Chinese economy next year. And I see some of you looking very uncomfortable about that. I got good news for you, finally. It may be the largest economy in the world, but it will be a long time before they have more income per capita than we do. We will still be the richest country of any size. Can't talk about Monaco, by the way. Of any size in the world for our lifetime. For our lifetime. Unless we don't figure out how to deal with the debt, then we might have some problems. We got competition. Our competition is in many forms. This is a Brazilian super tanker from Brazil, and it's filled with orange juice. 8 million gallons of orange juice. And so efficient, they can unload orange juice in Boston for less than we produce it in Florida. This is Brazilian jets, 3rd largest aircraft manufacturer in the world. Brazilians are competing with this, not just this. And of course, this is Brazilian oil. They just discovered oil off the coast of Brazil. It's projected that they may be the 3rd or 4th largest source of oil in the world by the end of this decade. Implications of this are significant. You have the middle class growing, and now you have companies in Brazil competing with us from a manufacturing standpoint. Infosys is an Indian company, 2nd largest software company in India. This is their corporate headquarters in southern India. It's a gorgeous, stunning place. Smaller only as a software headquarters to Microsoft in Redmond, Washington. This is the Indian version of Southwest Airlines. Very efficient, except they're doing one thing that Southwest is not doing. By the end of next year, they will own 50,000 hotel rooms across India. So they can give you a deal where they control both your flight and your hotel. Big deal. They'll be the largest hotel owner in India. The real story is the privatization of this airport. Airport's still owned by the government. It's now run by a private sector company. When the government owned it and ran it, it had a total capacity of 5 million passengers a year. Today, the same airport with not 1 inch of additional land, because it's run by a private sector company, has a capacity of 40 million passengers a year. The same airport. They added a few buildings and they're a heck of a lot more efficient. And so you're seeing that happen all over India. This is a car that they built for people joining the middle class for the very first time. We'll say that's really small. Well, the company Tata Motors also bought this from Ford and this from Ford. So if you see somebody driving around with this Range Rover looking really sophisticated, they probably don't know they're driving an Indian car. Because since 2009, Tata Motors has owned this. Now here's the interesting data. Before Ford owned Range Rover and Jaguar, BMW did. They sold it to Ford because they couldn't figure out how to make money. Ford sold it to Tata because they couldn't figure out how to make money. And in 2009, after Tata bought it, they lost $435 million. Last year, they made $1.7 billion off the Range Rover Jaguar. 1.7 billion is a real number. So these guys, these Indians, are competing on the basis of something other than just a lot of low-cost labor. And finally, let's go to China, and then we'll talk about energy, and then you can go home and throw up. I understand picture I took in Shanghai looking at an area called Pudong. Pudong was envisioned by the city of Shanghai as the financial capital of the world, passing Wall Street and the city of London. And when they did that, when they said that was their goal, everybody said, yeah, right. The important thing, though, is Pudong now is the 5th most active financial center in the world. So they've gone from nothing to number 5, kind of like their best. What's even more important than that, for those of you who have ever tried to get permits from anybody, just look at this picture. The top is Pudong in 1990. The bottom is Pudong in 1999. That's fast. Think about getting a permit to do that type of building in 9 years, any place in the United States. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. But our competitors are competing like this. This was done in 9 years. If you look at this next picture, you see 2 buildings that were not in that picture. The one on the right that has a handle, I've been on that, in that building. It's done. For some strange reason, they think it makes sense to have an observation deck with glass at the 102nd story. I figured out the glass makes it easy for them to clean the floor. But it's just scary looking down. That jokes today. But I think it's going to do well. Another building will be the 2nd tallest in the world. And again, for construction, look at these numbers. This is from McKinsey. To build in anticipation of the 48 million new members of the middle class that they're going to be seeing every year, they're going to be building enough skyscrapers to equal New Chicago every year into 2030. Michigan is known as the manufacturing state. And I know there are things that you make in this state that people need when they're building skyscrapers. There's a market. The only way we get out of our debt problem is to grow our economy as fast as possible. There's a market overseas, and we need to go after it. Now, last time I was here, people said, well, how do you do it? There's something the United States has, which is the U.S. Foreign Commercial Service. It is spectacular. It's part of the Department of Commerce, affiliated with state. They have reps who understand business all over the world, including China. I think the closest ones are in Detroit and Chicago in terms of where you talk to. And they know what they're doing. They have about 60 offices across China. And their job is to help American businesses get business in other parts of the world. And they're inexpensive, and they're good. So if you look at this and say, yeah, this is right, I'm in Holland, how do I get to China or Brazil or India? Just call that office, they will help you do it. And the prices are ridiculously low. It's one thing that our government does very well. This is a sign that you probably have not seen, not because it's in Chinese, but it's the bottom. Time is money, efficiency is life. According to some of my Chinese students, that was on the wall in their elementary schools. Try to put that on the elementary school wall in any city in the United States and you'd be sued. Time is money, efficiency is life. Maybe we put it in Mandarin, we can get away with it because nobody understands it. That's really communist, right? Time is money, efficiency is life. Well, let's look at this. This is a little city called Shenzhen, across the border from Hong Kong. Nothing in 1979. And about 30,000 people, best known for smuggling people into Hong Kong and things out of Hong Kong. Deng Xiaoping came in the early 80s and looked at Hong Kong and said, I don't like it, I want a communist version of Hong Kong. This is Shenzhen today. 11 million people, in the background is Hong Kong. The purpose of all this, and we're going to talk about energy, I'm going fast energy now, is for you to understand we have tremendous competition, our world has changed, and the one thing that's guaranteed is that as these tens of millions of people join the middle class, every year, the price of natural resources are going to go up. The price of commodities are going to go up. And you can decide to take as much time as you want to, but if you're in business, you know, buying low and selling high makes a hell of a lot more sense than buying high and